The morning they laid Ben Reeves in the cold ground, his 12-year-old grandson Lucas stood at the fence line alone, still in his dark jacket.
Your granddaddy was a fool, and you are just a fool in training.
Don't cry. Don't let them see they want you to break. Don't give it to them.
That night on the worn porch, Lucas looked at his exhausted mother and told her his plan.
I am selling the cows, all of them.
Baby, we barely keep the lights on now. We can't gamble what little we have left.
It's not a gamble. Grandpa believed in this. He left notes, plans. I'm going to raise goats and guardian dogs.
Maggie saw the same fire in his eyes that had burned in Ben Reeves for decades, and she knew she had already lost the argument.
We'll be okay, Mom. I promise. Just trust me one more time.
A week later, the cattle were gone, and a trailer carrying 40 goats and 2 fluffy white pups pulled into the driveway. The trailer gate swung open, and 40 goats poured into the pasture, bleeding for the first time on Reeves' land. Then the 2 white pups jumped down, too small yet for guarding, but already staying close to Lucas. On the county road, Jack and Ray leaned on the fence and shook their heads.
That's what old Ben's dream looks like. A bunch of goats and 2 useless dogs.
Let's see how long those goats last without real cattle money.
They can mock all they want. I've got my grandfather's plans, and that's enough.
He turned his back and walked the donkey to the barn, the goats already starting to graze.
Hey boy, your granddaddy wasted his last years on this fool idea. You are just as stubborn as he was.
Stubborn kept this farm. Stubborn will keep it going.
By sunset, the new herd was quiet in the pasture. The pups were curled in the hay, and somewhere, Jack was still laughing. Each morning before school, Lucas walked the pasture with the pups, teaching them to stay close to the goats, to listen for danger.
You stay with the goats, okay? That's your job. They're your family now.
Lucas, the feed bill came today. It's nearly double what we paid last month. We can't keep this up without a miracle.
I know, Mom, but the goats are gaining weight fast, and the pups are learning. We just need a little more time.
That afternoon, the ground shook with hoofbeats as Jack Harwood drove 30 head of cattle right up to the fence, dust spilling through.
How's your little goat farm, boy? You think those pups can protect anything from real stock?
Keep your head down. Don't give them the reaction they want.
Maybe we should buy him a real job application. He'll need it when those goats drop dead.
My goats are healthy, and my dogs are learning. That's more than I can say for some people's manners.
The donkey brayed, and the pups stayed at Lucas's side, watching the cattle stir up dust as they moved away. Over one hard year, the 2 pups grew into massive white guardians, and the goat herd doubled on the green hills.
You 2 are worth more than a whole herd of cattle. Nobody believes it yet, but they will.
For the first time, Lucas backed a truckload of goat meat to the co-op and came home with a check that covered the feed bill.
You actually made a profit. I don't believe it.
Grandpa kept saying the math works. Turns out the math works.
Then the television flickered with news that shook the county. A federal ruling halted all wolf culls effective immediately.
They can't stop us from protecting our own herds. This ruling will ruin every cattleman in the valley.
We'll lose calves every night. I say we handle it ourselves, law or no law.
Within days, wolf tracks appeared in the foothills above the county, and distant howls began to drift across the pastures at night. Lucas stood at the fence with his 2 white dogs beside him, watching the hills. He knew the test was coming. That night, under a cold moon, a pack of wolves slipped down from the foothills and tore into Jack Harwood's calf pasture. At dawn, Jack found the first calf dead, its throat torn, another 2 limping and bloodied.
They took my best heifer calf. I'll hunt every last wolf in this county, ruling or no ruling.
It's not just us. Every ranch along the creek lost something last night.
Miles away, Lucas sat up in bed, hearing a single deep bark, then silence. He pulled on his boots. In his pasture, all 40 goats huddled safe, and the big white guardian stood over fresh wolf tracks, chest still heaving.
You did it. You held the line. Grandpa was right all along.
While ranchers buried calves and loaded rifles, Lucas walked his fence line with a pencil behind his ear, counting heads.
That kid hasn't lost a single goat. How is that possible?
The difference was standing in the moonlit pasture, 4 white paws and a deep protective instinct that Ben Reeves had bet his farm on. That night, a wolf pack tested the Reeves fence. The dogs met them with fury at the boundary. In the morning, Lucas found no dead goats, only streaks of blood on white fur that wasn't theirs.
They really are born guardians. This farm is going to survive.
A good guardian dog is worth 10 armed men. Soon, the first litter was weaned, and word spread that the Reeves boy had protector pups for sale. A rancher from 2 counties over drove up with cash in hand.
They're trained to bond with whatever herd you put them with. This one will stand its ground.
The price was $3,500. It was more money than Lucas had ever held.
This is how we keep the farm. This is how we win.
By the end of the week, 3 more buyers had called, and the phone did not stop ringing. The county newspaper ran the headline no cattleman wanted to read: "Wolves devastate calves. Ranchers face ruin." On the Harwood spread, a dozen more calves lay scattered in the back pasture by week's end.
I've lost 30 head since the ruling. 30, and that boy across the creek hasn't lost a single goat.
At the same time, goat meat prices tripled as beef became scarce. Lucas filled orders faster than he could butcher.
That's the 3rd restaurant this month. They want exclusive supply. Nobody else has reliable meat right now.
A wholesale contract followed, guaranteeing income through winter. The Reeves farm was no longer scraping by. That Friday at the diner, the mood was different. Ranchers huddled over coffee, and every conversation turned sour.
That kid's charging more for a pup than my calving season brought in, and he's got a waiting list. It ain't right.
He's just a boy playing rancher. The feds will get tired of the wolf rule eventually. Then we'll see.
But the wolf packs only grew bolder, and while they avoided one pasture, they feasted everywhere else. Lucas's phone kept ringing. Ray's horse threw dust as he reined up at the fence line. Jack, a stone-faced shadow behind him.
You are getting rich while real ranchers go under. Boy, that don't sit right with anyone in this county.
I didn't create the wolves. I just listened when my grandfather told me how to stop them. He came to you 20 years ago and begged you to start a guardian dog program. You laughed him out of the diner.
Jack's face drained of color. His jaw worked, but no sound came out. Lucas pulled a folded page from his back pocket. His grandfather's handwriting circled in emphasis.
He wrote it down so one day it would matter. Today it matters.
That was a different time. You don't know what you are talking about.
Neither man answered. The horses shifted, and for the first time, Jack Harwood looked at Lucas and saw Ben staring back. Then they rode off, leaving Lucas alone at the fence with his grandfather's words folded in his hand. 20 years earlier, the diner was packed with ranchers when Ben Reeves walked in with a white puppy in his arms.
Jack, I've been studying guardian dogs. If we pool resources, we could breed a line that protects every calf in this county.
You want me to put my cattle with a bunch of dogs? You've been reading too many farm magazines, old man.
You hear that? A dog program. What's next? Guard ferrets.
The table erupted in laughter. Ben stood there, the puppy licking his hand, his face unmoving.
Someday you'll see. When the wolves come and there's nothing left, you'll remember this conversation.
Wolves been gone for 50 years, Ben. Go home.
Ben turned and walked out, the puppy tucked against his chest, a dozen eyes burning into his back. That night, he wrote in his journal, "They will understand when it is too late. Lucas folded the page, the ink still sharp after 20 years, and looked out at the dogs sleeping in the moonlight. Within a week, wolves pulled down 20 more calves on the Harwood spread. The bone pile grew larger every morning.
We have to start shooting. No one will blame us. The law is a joke.
If we shoot a wolf and get caught, we lose the ranch. I will not risk prison over this.
Jack stood at his fence for a long time, staring across the creek where Lucas's white dogs patrolled without a single loss.
You are not actually thinking of buying one of those dogs from that kid.
I hate it, Ray, but I am out of options. Another month, and the bank takes the land.
That evening, Jack Harwood pulled a check from his ledger and filled it out for $3,500.
If I walk up to that boy's gate, it will be the hardest thing I have ever done.
The next morning, before the sun was fully up, he saddled his horse and rode toward the Reeves place. The check burned in his pocket like a confession. Jack reined in at the Reeves gate and took off his hat like a man entering church.
I need to buy a guardian pup. I have the money right here.
The price is $3,500. Cash or certified check.
Jack pulled the folded check from his shirt pocket and held it out.
I know I've got no right to ask for anything from you, but my herd is dying.
You get one pup, that's all, and I pick which one.
Lucas walked to the whelping pen and returned with the largest male, already bold and steady-eyed.
He'll bond with your cattle if you let him stay with them. Don't chain him. He works on trust.
I'll do whatever it takes.
The transaction ended without a handshake. Jack mounted his horse and rode away with the pup in his arms, Lucas watching until he was out of sight. Within days, the pup bonded with Jack's remaining calves, and when wolves tested the fence again, the young dog barked until the pack retreated.
I didn't lose a single calf last night. Not one.
Word spread swiftly. Ranchers who had mocked Lucas now drove up his lane, cash in hand, asking for puppies.
You are the fourth person today. I've got 2 pups left. Same price as the ad.
The waiting list grew to 15 names. The Reeves farm was no longer a joke. It was a necessity. A week later, Jack rode past Lucas on the county road. He lifted his hat and gave a single, silent nod.
A nod isn't an apology. And it's not the truth he owes my grandfather.
That evening, Lucas stood before the framed photo of his grandfather, the same one who had been laughed out of the diner 20 years ago.
I've made them respect the dogs, but I haven't made them respect you. Not yet.
He knew the hardest part of the story was still buried, and it was time to unearth it. That night, Lucas opened an old trunk in his grandfather's study and found a yellowed envelope addressed to Jack Harwood. Dear Jack, I am sorry for crowding your diner table. I know my ideas seemed foolish, but you needed to know the true worth of these dogs.
He apologized for pushing the idea, and he wrote that the dogs came from Harwood's own line.
Your father sold off the last of his working guardians after you mocked him. I bought 2 pups to save them from disappearing. They are Harwood blood.
The dogs I've been breeding all this time are Jack's family legacy. My grandfather saved them.
I never wanted to shame you. I only wanted to protect this county. I hope one day you'll understand. He folded the letter carefully and looked at the photograph of his grandfather on the mantel.
This isn't about punishment. It's about making things right for him.
He reached for the phone and dialed Jack's number.
Jack, it's Lucas. I need you to come by the farm tomorrow morning. There's something you need to see.
Jack Harwood walked up the Reeves Drive at first light, his boots heavy on the gravel. Lucas met him at the gate and led him to the barn, past the sleeping guardian dogs. They sat on opposite sides of a scarred wooden table, the morning light cutting through the slats.
I called you here because my grandfather left something behind. A story I think you need to hear.
What story, if this is about that diner?
It's bigger than that dinner. It goes back further than you imagine.
Lucas opened his grandfather's journal and placed it on the table, then laid the yellow envelope beside it.
What is that? A letter?
It was written 20 years ago. but it was never mailed. It's for you, from Ben Reeves.
He slid the envelope across the table. Jack stared at it like it might burn him. Instead of waiting for Jack to open the envelope, Lucas pulled a separate document from the journal and unfolded it on the table.
Before you read that letter, you need to see this.
It was a registered pedigree chart. The top name, circled in faded ink, was Harwood's Sentinel.
Harwood's Sentinel. That was my father's dog.
Every guardian dog on this farm descends from that exact line. When you were a teenager, you thought your father was a fool for breeding guardians. So he sold the whole line off. My grandfather drove halfway across the state and bought the last 2 pups to keep the bloodline alive.
Then all these dogs, they are my own bloodline.
The line you destroyed, and the very line that is saving what's left of your herd.
Jack stared at the pedigree as if it were a death warrant. The name Harwood blazed up at him. Jack's mind wrenched him backward to a dusty summer when he was 17, sneering at his father over the kennel fence.
You and your useless dogs, Dad. That's what I said. I called him a fool the same way I called Ben a fool.
He remembered the hurt in his father's eyes before the old man turned and loaded the dogs into a stranger's trailer.
He sold them because of me. The whole working line, gone, because I was too proud to listen.
He had spent his whole life dismissing the wisdom of men who knew better, and now the proof sat in ink on the table.
What have I done?
He looked at the envelope, the journal, the boy across the table, and saw the whole arc of his own failings.
My father's dog line, saved by Ben Reeves. Ben, who I laughed out of the diner.
He could not lift his head. The shame locked his jaw. Lucas did not speak. He only slid the yellow envelope closer. Jack's hands trembled as he unfolded the brittle paper. Ben's familiar handwriting crawled across the page. Dear Jack, I hold no anger. You were young, and I was maybe too stubborn. But I hope one day you'll see that these dogs are not a waste.
He forgives me. After everything I did, he forgives me.
Jack read on, the words blurring as tears filled his eyes.
I don't deserve this.
He dropped the letter and pressed his fists against the table, shoulders heaving.
I am sorry. I am so sorry.
He already forgave you. He never stopped hoping you'd understand.
Jack looked up, face wet, and for the first time saw the boy not as a rival, but as the bearer of a grace he couldn't repay. Lucas picked up the letter and set it gently on Jack's side of the table. Jack left the barn carrying the letter against his chest, but something else had been carried out of him. A week later, Jack stood at the county ranchers' meeting, the same room where they'd planned to shoot wolves, and asked to speak.
I was wrong about Ben Reeves, and I was wrong about his grandson. What they've built can save every ranch in this county.
The room went quiet. Ray pulled his hat low and stared at his boots.
I am buying more guardian dogs from the Reeves boy, and I am asking the county to help every rancher do the same.
The county extension office launched a cost-share program. For the first time, guardian dogs became official policy. Within 2 seasons, wolf attacks dropped by half. Calves grazed under the watch of white dogs, and the howls no longer meant death. Aerial photographs later showed a dozen ranches with white dots among the cattle, all tracing back to a single farm.
Your grandfather would be proud. You did what none of us could, and you were half our age.
The wolves still howled in the hills, but the howls no longer meant ruin. They were just part of a balance that Ben Reeves had seen all along. On a mild autumn afternoon, Lucas walked up the hill to the small cemetery with a folded paper in his hand. He laid the pedigree on the grass at the base of the gravestone, then set the news article beside it.
I did it, Grandpa. The dogs are everywhere. The ranches are safe.
He traced the carved name with his finger. Then he stood up and looked out at the valley where white dogs now dotted a dozen pastures. The sun was setting just like the day he first brought the goats home. He turned away, and the big white guardian rose from the grass to follow.
You were never a fool. You were just ahead of your time.
They walked down the hill together, boy and dog, into the golden light. Behind them, on the stone, the name Ben Reeves gleamed like a promise kept. Back at the farm, the old equipment shed was now a training center, with a new litter of white pups tumbling in the straw.
Keep the pups with the stock from day one. They'll bond naturally.
The Reeves Goat Company truck loaded for market. Its logo a white dog and a goat known across 3 counties.
Let me give you a hand with that gate, partner.
They shook hands over a blue ribbon goat, the applause of the crowd around them.
That's my boy. That's my boy right there.
The county fair was suddenly full of guardian dogs, and nobody was laughing anymore. As the sun sank low, the white dogs patrolled the pastures, and the howls from the hills were no longer a threat.
We did good, Grandpa.
The farm stood as proof that wisdom doesn't need you to believe it. It just waits. Years later, Lucas sat on the same worn porch where he had once told his mother he was going to sell the cows. A small group of young ranchers sat on the steps, the same age he had been when he gambled everything.
I was 12 when I sold the cattle. Every man in this county said I'd fail, but my grandfather left me a plan, and I followed it. Not because I was smart, but because I was desperate to prove him right. The dogs were the key. They came from a line nobody wanted, saved by a man everyone laughed at.
He told them about the diner, the old letter, and the pedigree that changed everything.
Wisdom doesn't need you to believe it. It just waits.
The young ranchers scribbled notes or stared out at the white dogs patrolling the green pasture. As the sun dropped low, Lucas stood and looked toward the hill where his grandfather rested. The farm had grown, but it still held the same truth. A boy, a dog, and a promise kept. Each dawn over the Reeves farm now began not with fear, but with the steady bark of white dogs moving to their posts. Lucas walked the fence line as he had every day since he was 12, a great white shadow at his side. His mother watched from the porch, the worry long gone from her face, replaced by a quiet pride. From the distant hills, a wolf howl rose, but it held no menace, only the ancient sound of a balanced land. A white dog lifted its head, answered once, then settled back into the grass. The herd was safe.
We did good, Grandpa.
The farm that had been a joke was now a blueprint. Every white dot in every pasture traced back to this ground, and the sign at the gate said it plainly. Reeves Farm, a boy, a dog, and a promise kept. Wisdom doesn't need you to believe it. It just waits.